You are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your favorite and hopefully the only one podcast about physical education and sports science. Yes, we are talk directly to from our scientific hub, where we talk about and do a lot of stuff regarding to scientific and applied content in sports science. And yes, we are in the turf season. So, guys, as you can see, we are trying to do one step further, but we want to ask you for one thing. Yes, if you don't follow us and you are still watching us, which we love, so you can still watching us forever, it's not a problem at all. But we also need your support. If you think that this what we do aggregate for you, we ask you kindly, please, to click and follow us at Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Because to be honest, we want to overcome this wave of fake news and influencers, which brings a lot of scientific, not scientific knowledge to the discussion about sports science. And the only way to do this is if you help us to become more relevant in the digital world. The most uncomplicated way to do that is if you take your pretty beautiful little finger and click in the button right now and start to follow us. And also, if it makes sense for you, share our content to your coworkers, family, and friends. Many thanks in advance. Yes, so we are now in the turf season and we have a clear topic: how to be the best sport teacher in the world. And to help us to answer these questions, we are more than happy to interview Stefanie Haberstock. Dear Steffi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I think this is a quite funny experience for all of us because this is our first live episode, and we have many cameras here, and we hope anything will break and explode and everything will work out. But yes, I'm really happy that you found time for us and you want to talk about your experience for our audience. But yes, so talking about how to bring your knowledge to our audience, could you bring us a little bit more about your scientific career, maybe your also sport career, and from where you started and where you are right now?
Yes. So I will start with my academic career. I would say I did my bachelor's in sports and therapy in prevention and health um, at the German Sport University. So I graduated as a sports therapist, if you want to say so. And during that bachelor's, I developed an interest in sports psychology specifically because I did an internship at the FC Bayern Munich at their academy, and there I worked with their sports psychologist who really inspired me. His work, he became kind of a role model in that sense.
Nice.
And there I was like, this is what I want to do.
Great.
And from there I did a semester abroad in Australia where I couldn't really transfer any credits that were useful for my bachelor. So I took a detour into social psychology, and I did a lot of psychological contents to see if how this could be kind of adapted to my field, to sports science.
Yes.
And I found it so interesting that then I applied here at this Institute of Psychology, Department of Health and Social Psychology. And since then, I'm working here. And then when I graduated, I applied for the Masters of Psychology in Sport and Exercise, also here at this university. And yeah, I'm almost done with that. And this is kind of my academic way. And yeah, my bachelor thesis was on the topic of social identity, which then I presented at the sports psychological conference and could also connect to other researchers about the topic. Yeah, and sports, I think I was always quite an all-rounder, very interested in football and volleyball and team sports in general, I would say.
Do you think that your former experience as an athlete also impacted positively to find a topic for your research?
I think so, because there's always this part, and we will probably get to this later again, but I always thought that if my team has this team spirit, we could perform better. So when we were on the field and we felt that we could do this, and we felt that together we were undefeatable, that was when we were the strongest.
Nice.
This experience probably impacted that.
Quite interesting. Yes, I was a former handball player, and I know exactly what you were talking about. Yes, as Steffi just said, today we will talk about her bachelor thesis that she defended at the German Sport University, entitled "Mental Well-Being in Sport Groups: A Social Identity Approach." Yes, could you tell us a little bit more about the story behind this topic and why you decided to do research in this topic?
Yes, I think that it originated in this internship that I did at the football academy, because there, my supervisor, he had this vision of a team culture, of kind of values that the team should have, and these values should be clear to the players so that they feel that they identify with the team. And we discussed this a lot, and it was his first year there, I think, so this was kind of his vision to implement this.
Nice.
And then I took this further, and I was like, who at this university is dealing with this topic a little bit? And I found Christian Zepp,
which we will interview tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, and so I talked to him, and he also does this team identification, and different members and teams, and how do teams fit together. Yeah, and then I found this topic, and then I started reading a lot. And
could you find like only scientific work regarding this, or more like in the applied field? How was it?
Yeah, so one book that I can really recommend from the applied field is Togetherness from Matt Slater, because he's really talking about how, I think it's called Togetherness, how to build a winning team. Nice. So he really describes the steps a team needs to take to have this feeling of togetherness. And I think this was one of the books where I read and I was like, this is so true. And with that, like, I had the feeling of this, but I didn't know how to describe it.
Okay. You found the words.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And another thing was that, I mean, I'm always taking the example of football just because it's so omnipresent, right? And you see young players being like traded, as goods. So they are sold and bought, and they don't really have a say on that. And from one season to another, they go to another team, and how does this make them feel? And then you have teams like Bilbao, where they have an unwritten rule that their players have to be either born in the Basque country,
yes,
or have been playing there.
Or family members should be.
Yes. And they have this rule, and they still play in La Liga. Like, I think
which means they can perform.
Yes, like somehow it works without buying a lot of players from outside, and I find that interesting. I think, how can that be? And is there maybe this social aspect that is way more important than we all think?
This is quite interesting. I have some experience as a former handball player, and I moved to one town. It was really a small town in Brazil called Porto Real, Royal Harbor. And the funny story in this town was that 50% of the population there, they were former slaves, and 50% were former Italians. So you have clear different people living in the same city, but they live so good together. It was like they were one city together and mixed. But so far you were there once in one school there, and I played handball there. You were one of them, and this is I considered also could go outside of the sports field, and I lived this in a big social sphere, but also brought me a lot of good feelings, and I still feel that I belong to this town somehow, although I'm here. Yes. Kind of crazy, but
it's part of your social identity.
Yes. It belongs to it. So I feel as someone of Porto Real. Quite great. Yeah. Nice. Yes. So We want to go a little bit in this season in direction of sport, physical education. And do you think that this knowledge that you brought in your paper and your bachelor thesis is also important for a sport teacher? And if yes, why?
I think so, just because um, teachers have this huge challenge of educating young people, right? They can have a huge impact on these people's lives. And what happens, especially in high school, teenagers, they form their identity. So, yes, and PE is such a nice context. So, in PE, they have this freedom, I would say, of not sitting just in class and, doing tasks, but they can express themselves. And I think especially PE teachers can have a huge impact on how these teenagers develop, or kids as well. But I think it's in the teenage years where this social identity has a really big impact.
Now as a teacher again, I teach in one school, and especially in one class that I cannot say because some of my students, hi guys, or my scholars, they are watching me right now. I don't want to say the number of the class, but I do feel that this social identity is still not there yet. And I just started like some months ago, and I'm trying to understand the pieces which brought this class to be as it is right now. I do think now it's hard for them to understand why we should be one team, why you should have this concept of one class together to fight for one target together. If you have this situation, what do you think that should be done? I mean, in special when you don't know the former bad or good experiences. How can you manage this, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's important to understand what is social identity, or
Great.
what are we even talking about. And
Yes.
I think the easiest way to say it is that, so I have my personal identity. I'm Steffi, I have my personality, and this really drives a lot of my behaviors, right?
Yeah.
This is me, and that's how I do things. But then you said before, so now I'm speaking as a teacher, so I can speak to you as the student of this university. I can speak to you as the psychology band member. So that's my social identity. So, and depending on this context, I have different values or different tasks, or we sometimes also act different in different groups. And then back to the school context, if we talk about this social identity, there's proof that people that identify with their teams, I mean, this has been mostly done in work context, but I think you can perfectly put this onto a school context too, where you have to do group work and you have to go there every day and do something, that people perform better and are healthier when they identify with this group. And that has a lot of different reasons. One biggest one is probably social support, because if you identify with a team, then you are, first of all, more willing to give social support. And this is like a two-way street. So if you are more willing to support others, they will support you back, and you feel good about supporting others. And when people identify with groups, they're way more willing to do that. And also they perceive the received support as way more positive. So when someone supports you, you can always say, oh, that's so cool that they helped me. Or you can say, I didn't ask for this help. And if you identify with the group, you like to receive that support. You're like, oh, they're helping me. They want the best for me. They're there
want
for
to give
me.
back somehow.
Yeah.
I think the point there is that the situation in this class is that they don't see the benefits because they either they never ever lived this positive experience once to get support, and for them make no sense and therefore maybe they say, why should I give?
Yes.
But the point is, for me now as a teacher, also as a school, I can say, is trying to understand how to build, and build means like a Lego, step by step, like one piece almost every week, and hoping to achieve this social identity in once at the end of the year or at the end of the school system. I think there's a big challenge that I'm facing there, but I talked with many other sport teachers here in Germany, and many of them are living this. Um, I think Corona has hit these guys, in special the teenagers one, in such heavy way that they don't understand the the benefits of being social or having social skills, because during that time, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and 1 year ago, they were like playing and having kind of self development alone, or maybe with some just a small circle of friends. And this is an issue that many teachers in Germany are living, but I assume also worldwide are living right now.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think COVID was such a weird time, and especially for young people where they should be socializing and should go out there, it must have been really hard. And they still did it, right? So
Yeah.
why do I need a social group if I made it without them? But it's super interesting when you ask people, what do you need to be healthy? And then of course people say no alcohol, no smoking, physical activity.
They know, actually, they know
They
how
know, but everybody forgets about the social part, which actually I think is one of the biggest predictors of like mental ill being or diseases. And it's I think this is really difficult because it's something that you cannot grasp, especially for young people. So I think what teachers can do is really, I mean, that's actually a challenge of my master thesis. So I'm trying to develop.
So, guys, I just want to say right now that we will interview Steffi in 1 year when she's finished with her master thesis. Great. Thank you for the self invitation.
Yes. Yeah, but I want to take up this challenge and see if I can come up with workshops with measure like some exercises that improve social identity. And I think what teachers can always do is make sure that these students become or get a clear image of their role in the class. I think it's really important to point out you have your place in this class, and even if you're an outsider, maybe you're different than the others, but you are contributing with your way of being to this community. And if you weren't here, it wouldn't be the same, you know?
This feeling is quite, this way of saying is quite well thought, because I do think that accepting differences is so essential, especially in the teenage time, because they feel different. They don't fit in any place, so they are always trying to find their place without finding peers. And when they find a kind of peers, they really glue as a like a glue. And this is quite interesting. Yeah, I like the idea. You can be different, but we still need you, and you belong to us.
Yes, it's like this complementary. You need, in a good team to work, you don't need 5 guys who are good at computer programming. You need one guy for computer, you need one guy for communication, and I think this is the same in a school group. You need a class clown. You need that person. You need one person that is really committed, that wants to organize something, maybe the class representative. But you also need the silent person to calm down the class and stuff like that. And I think it's important to make this obvious to the individual pupils, but also to everybody else to know it's important that they're here, and it's important to accept everybody as they are.
This is great. Actually, I should send this interview to some of my colleagues afterwards. Great. Yes, going ahead with our questions, I want to know a little bit more. What kind of skills do you think that a sport teacher must have? So you brought your own experience from Australia, that when you were there, you were educated here in Germany, and also you have some friends from outside Spain. I remember this as well. So if you think that you can hang like 3 top characteristics of a good sport teacher, or maybe two, or just one, I don't know. But do you think that there are some special skills that a sport teacher must have? I know it's
Good
not.
question. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So the first two things that came into my mind were empathy
Empathy. Yeah.
and and to be authentic. I think it's so
Mhm.
important for a PE teacher to be authentic and to also be true to himself or herself if they maybe cannot do something. I remember I had a PE teacher who always wanted the best performance of us.
Mhm.
And then in gymnastics, he couldn't show us how to do it, and he still wanted us to do it in the best way.
So like someone that says things but cannot do it.
Yeah, a bit hypocrite, you know? And I
Yeah.
think as a PE teacher, you have to be able to say, guys, I don't know how to do this myself, but we're going to do this together, you know? Yeah, and empathy, just because I think, especially PE teachers, you played handball before. Most of the PE teachers come from a very physically active environment, and there's people that didn't grow up in this
Yeah.
environment. So it's really important to be empathetic. And I still think maybe that's the third. I still think a PE teacher should be a role model,
Mhm.
especially in the sense of physical activity, just because it's such an important part of our lives. You know, most
Mhm.
of the children don't even meet the WHO criteria anymore. And I have
Yeah, it's
my
true.
hope on the PE teachers to have this, um, you know, to take over this role model position of being like, hey guys, you have to be physically active. Look, I can do this. I'm gonna show you how to do this. We're gonna do this together. You're gonna go out of my class with more skills.
Yeah, I do think that this whole skill is really important, especially here in Germany. I have been in three different schools, uh, Gesamtschule, like a regular school, Gymnasium, and another Gesamtschule. And the male figure is quite missing in many families because the parents, the fathers, the most they work a lot to give some kind of opportunity for these kids to be there and just learn. And I got a really clear impression from the beginning, independent of the school where I was, that uh, they like to have a male figure, not because it's masculine, but just to have another perspective about the same topic. Let's gonna say, I always make jokes like in German, Mannschaft. Okay, in German we say, wir müssen eine Mannschaft bauen. And I say, yes, but also we can, statt Mannschaft, become eine Frauenschaft. So just to make a joke, it's like, instead of saying we just need to be men and to be a group, no, we can also be a group of females. And
Yeah.
this is important. But when I say this as a male,
Yeah.
it sounds totally different
Yes.
in comparison when a teacher says female teachers, and the girls like the idea because they say, well, he's questioning the way we say about things and it makes sense. We can be a group not only because we are Mannschaft, we can all Frauenschaft. So
Yes.
and I like this idea, and I do feel that this is important, but I don't see how many sport teachers in Germany are taught to play a role model, are taught to be authentic and to have empathy. They are taught how to learn about pedagogic about the body, how the body works, and this is really important. But these soft skills, they don't, and maybe sometimes it misses a lot, and therefore some sport classes doesn't work out properly. But in going direction to your topic of research, I do think when the guy or when the class understand together, well, we have a target to achieve, and the sport teacher is the head or is the guy who takes the direction and drives, okay, well, let's gonna try this way or this path or this path. I think this is really really important. Yes, we talk about three must go. Tell me just one characteristic that you think that a sport teacher in 2023 shouldn't have. So something that he or she can't do, in your opinion.
Um,
I have one. So he or she cannot not be able. No, she or he has to follow us in Podium Podcast.
Yes.
But besides that, what do you think? Something that she or he has cannot do anymore, which maybe makes sense for you as a scientist as well.
I think what nowadays is not a good characteristic to have in PE is be like an how do I say this, like an authority, you know. You
Okay.
shouldn't be like
Authority,
a
yeah.
dictator on those kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think PE it's a whole school system where I think PE is one of the only and this makes it difficult for you as a PE teacher as well, but it's the only class where the kids are not put in kind of a frame, you know,
Yeah.
where they can really
Sit,
be
yeah,
free.
yeah. Mm.
And therefore you shouldn't be like a military
Teacher wise.
teacher, you know.
Yeah.
You should give them this freedom. And I think especially when kids act out in this lesson and they are wild and they run and they scream, they need this. And I think nowadays everybody tries to just put the kids in order, sit down and be quiet, take your iPad. But kids need to run, scream, be dirty, you know. And I think a PE teacher has this challenge of having an order in their class, but still being more of a team leader or a coach instead of a teacher. And
Yeah, like a dictatorship.
yes.
Like, nice. I like the idea. So I think I am in a good path. Yes. Yeah. So let's gonna say we once have, just to going in the direction of the final at the end of our interview. Once we have at Podium Sportcast Instagram account one pool of questions, and we asked many people to rank what they consider the worst thing or the things that should change for sport teachers. And in English, they wrote three topics. I can read for you. They said that the major problems are high cost of founding continuing education during and after graduation. So they say that while you are graduating and also after, if you want to learn more, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And they also say that nowadays it's quite hard to fight against influencers. They say that many children, especially close to 17, 16 years old, they are watching a lot of influencers which has they don't have any background of science, and it's quite hard to fight their knowledge with scientific knowledge or teacher's knowledge. And the other topic we can jump off. It's not important for us right now. But regarding the first and the second topic, what do you think about this?
I mean, I'm not a PE teacher, so I don't know enough about it, but I think this continuously educating yourself and being on the state of the art is so important, especially in PE. And it's sad that there's no funding for this. It's sad that they don't that there's no one who says, hey, here, I pay you this weekend, go learn as much as you can, come back and you're an asset for our school. I think that's really it's sad in our system. What was the second part again? Sorry.
Second one was how to fight against influencers, because the kids come with a cell phone and say, oh, I should do this movement. Look, this guy is doing this.
Yes.
And I say, yes, he's doing with his age, his body, and his experience.
Or not
you are
even,
like 12,
yes.
14, 16. Look, your body mass. You can do this. It's too dangerous for you.
I think that's a really sad topic because as a sports scientist, it just makes me angry when an influencer goes and pretends to be a personal trainer and then tells everybody how to do pull-ups in a way that anybody who does it the same way will have a stiff neck the next day. But I think it's important to just keep telling them that it's nonsense. Keep telling them it's not real. There's people, I mean, let alone what they wear, it's
Mm.
their bodies are not real sometimes, and
Mm.
they put on weights that are empty inside and
Yeah,
lift them, you
yeah.
know. Um,
They fake.
yes, they fake a lot. And maybe back to my topic, even, I think the social identity, you know, these kids are trying to find their identity, and a lot of them, I think, maybe identify through these influencers. They're like, oh my god, I want to be like this girl, and it's not healthy.
Mm.
And having more other social identities, be it from a sports club or at school, protects them from this, you know. So if you can identify yourself over other skills that you have, over, hey, I'm a football player, or I'm a theater group member, or I am a member of the class 3A in my school. You don't necessarily look at these people and need to be like them.
Mm. Yeah, I think this is the point. Due to COVID, many roles that formerly they were watching and seeing at the clubs or also elsewhere, they changed to find and try to find this in internet, and then they came. So nowadays it's quite hard to say you can do one marathon every day, because they see guys doing running one marathon every day, say, Dr. Walter, I also want to run that amount of volume of kilometers per week. And I say, yes, look your age, look your body. It's totally different. And I do think that we still, as a sports scientist and physical educators, we still have to change a lot of things. And I feel sorry, but I also like the challenge to trying to use like channels like this to change and bring back to the roots, but also not only just because the past was better, but because we are based in scientific evidence.
Yes.
And we can sell them better and say, well, if you go in this way, it could be dangerous for your lifelong. You can have an injury that cannot recover, or if it recovers, can you bring you some disabilities? And I think this is still a big challenge. It's a big
I
challenge.
think so too. And it's sad because it's social media, you know, like you kind of connect, but the social aspect of you and me sitting next to each other, talking to each other, the the emotions you transmit to me, you don't get that in social media. And I think this is a huge challenge in the future, and we will see. I'm 100% sure that in a few years we will see the consequences of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially teachers have this challenge of fighting this.
Yeah, I fully agree. This is still a point that we don't know how to answer this. Moving towards to the end, I want to ask you, where do you think that sport teachers should find knowledge or information for their self improvement as a teacher? Where can they find this? Because it looks like that we say we have science as a solution, we have sports scientists as a guys who does these solutions, but where can they find this? Because it's still a problem, right?
Yes.
We are still in the bubble of the university, and many people are still looking and say, well, either I find influencers saying do this kind of push-ups, or there is a paper published in English and it's such a complicated language and I cannot understand. So, in your opinion, besides Podium Sportcast, where can they find?
Yeah, I think Sportcast is a great beginning. And other channels like this, I think there's a bunch of scientific podcasts, and you don't have to stick to teaching. I think especially PE teachers can get their knowledge from different fields. They can get it from business, because business also works with teams that have to function, you know. So that's
Yes.
you need, or there's like similar structures, I would say. So if there's something that you watch or observe among your students, you might want to go into other fields. If there's nothing that you can inform yourself in the area of teaching, go to other areas, see what they did, and then think about, how could I apply this to my class? Or I have faced this challenge. Okay, let's see. Maybe some other area, health or something,
Mm.
faced this problem before me. But still, I think what's very important is the communication between teachers. I think would be very important to bring teachers from the same field together and discuss which problems have they faced. Is there someone else that had maybe a solution to this problem? And I think this communication and this discussion can maybe solve some problems. But
Yeah, I love to talk with people older than me in my school. There is a guy there. He's a sport teacher, and he's in this school 35 years long, and I am 35 years of life. So he has my own life at this school,
yeah,
and I love to talk to him. And you are completely right. I also liked your point when you said there are different solutions from the same problem in other fields like economy, business, and so on. And you just have to adapt to your own reality.
there's a nice saying where when you use a hammer for any problem that you have, then no, I have to remember how it was.
You hammer everything.
Yeah,
No.
you hammer everything. Like when you only have a hammer, you only find like nails to hammer. And then if you kind of broaden your tool set to other tools, then you can solve different problems differently. And I think that's something that everybody in their life should have.
Yeah, this is quite good. Steffi, yes, first of all, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate your time and your expertise, and we are completely on time. We could be really German as we are. But I want to ask you if you have some thoughts, final thoughts to share to our audience regarding your research. So maybe where they can find you if they want to contact you. So I know that your beautiful Instagram that I was trying to find your family name hasn't your family name.
Yeah, and it's not quite scientific either. But
no, but I mean,
yes,
where can people find you?
So I'm still working at the German Sports University, so I can be contacted here. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so if anybody is interested in what I'm doing, drop me a LinkedIn message. And my final thought, I'm really happy that I could be here, and I just think it's such a great idea to communicate science in this way. It just makes it more accessible for everybody.
Thank you. This words means a lot to me. And this is why we are here. And you are in the first live episode of Podium Sportcast ever. This makes me really, really happy. So, dear audience, I really hope you had that much fun as I have. And in some like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we'll change the language and we go to German. And we'll have a emeritierte professor, so someone that has that much knowledge that we can make you times me that we won't achieve, but we want to learn from him. Maybe.
Don't never say never.
No, yes. Okay, I put myself. No, but so we still have some episodes today, and tomorrow we will have your Dr. Father. No, it's not a Dr. Father. It's the supervisor, which you can also watch.
Very recommended.
Yeah.
Very cool guy. So definitely be there for him.
Yeah, we will do this in German, I think. And tomorrow we also have another professor from Brazil, which we will do via Zoom, kind of.
Super international.
Yeah, we are. So, Steffi, I sincerely appreciate. Thanks a lot. I will play the final. What is the name we got? Brand here. Let's gonna see if it works. And then I will stop the podcast. Dear guys, thanks a lot. I really appreciate. See you in some minutes, maybe like in 20 minutes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Intro, no. Yeah, what? Final. Yeah, final. Good. Yeah. End broadcast.